I'm Mantastic'c and Fantastic, and today I'm going to be talking about version 19.3 that has just gone live in North America, along with the several new evolutions that were released. So I love maintenances because new stuff means possibly new exciting things to do, and in fact we are going to have the Fairies event on Friday, and then a 9 Magic Stone Super Godfest on Saturday. So the rolling rates for those are like somewhat TBD, and whether or not to roll in the Super Godfest, which may or may not be the Golden Week one that people have been excited for, we'll have to wait until Saturday. But the point of the matter is, there are a lot of exciting places to spend your Magic Stones, but for the point of this video, I'm not going to be talking about those. Instead, I'm going to be focusing on what just came out that you can access right now. So right now, we have the 9-player bonus resets. Basically, all your rank 150 to rank 1000 memorial rolls have been reset, which means if you've achieved those rank thresholds, you receive free rolls. Hooray! You can also choose a new best friend and give out your present once again. Remember, choosing a new best friend does not erase or invalidate previously chosen or other players who selected you as a best friend. Your number just increases. New floors are added to the pad pass if you hold it. So basically, various descents are continuously added to the pad pass, so you have the convenience of farming it whenever is necessary. There are a couple of new awakening changes. So super follow-up attack now gives you 1 million damage worth of auto follow attack when you match that 3x3 box, and the number of super follow attacks on your team can stack, so it's possible you can do multiple millions worth of damage. This will bypass resolve and bypass damage absorb and void. I think I could be wrong actually, but it is possibly a weird gimmicky way to deal with things. But at the same time, auto follow attack leaders are so common now, it's kind of just easier than trying to find 9 hard orbs plus the orbs you need to kill stuff. Next is the 80% or more Enhanced Awakening, which is now 50% or more. It's going to take me a bit of time to get used to saying that, but basically this awakening functions the same, except the threshold is bigger. Instead of having to be above 80% health to receive 1.5 times personal damage, you only have to be above 50% health. So this is as strong as the current TPA. TPA will be buffed in the future, but as far as offensive awakenings go, it's much more flexible now because you have a much wider range of errors, so to speak. So yay for cards that have that, but it still can be inconsistent if you're playing a team that constantly gets hit and you dip below half health. We can now toggle between monster and skill search bar, which is nice. It's just saving an extra click. The dungeon select screen has been readjusted. Where you find your normal, special, technical, etc., they've been rearranged for various reasons. Monster box capacity has been increased, which is cool. I'm not even close to that cap. And then various bugs, so that's nice. So we're going to take a look at the new and underwhelming evolutions. Sadly, the evolutions that came with this update are quite sad. So the first one is Bale, and Bale can have some personal damage, some passive damage, 4 skill boost, super blind, team HP. So you might think, well, this is not a bad set. It's a reasonable kit overall. It's not outstanding, but it's reasonable. Sadly, there's no sub-attributes, so again, if you're trying to play Shura 3, it makes it a little awkward to slide anything in. The active skill is just underwhelming. You get a strong light counterattack, which is completely worthless, and then you change water and hazards to light. So you don't solve any mechanics. You have a 5-turn base cooldown, which isn't that short. It's not guaranteed to make enough light orbs to make a system. I just don't see a place to really fit them in. And as a leader, you need to use all reincarnated, super reincarnated cards, and there's just not enough of those. Like, it's all collab-based and Godfest exclusive-based team building nowadays. There might be like 1 or 2 Pantheon cards featured, so it's just not going to work out. And speaking of Pantheon cards that have seen better days, Yumasachi and Yamasachi used to be my favorite leader for Fantastic. We cleared all the content together back in the day, and they have languished in agony for the past I don't know how many years, and years is not even an exaggeration. And they could have a 10 combo, they have 2 L's, and they can get a 7 combos and 2 skill boosts, super poison. So you might think, hey, this is not bad. They're green. Maybe I could use them on Royal Oak teams in lieu of, say, Skald or Mieda or whoever else you may have that happens to be green. But for myself, I really don't think I would ever replace Skald with them, because Skald has the same cooldown duration, but Skald gives you a board change and a delay. Yamasachi removes ore blocks, which is nice, but you're probably running someone else who can remove ore blocks. There's a good chance you have Kiori or the blue Draco Blade if you're running Royal Oak teams. And they change fire to water, heal to dark, so if I'm not mistaken, that competes with Royal Oak's orb generation of making water orbs, so it's a pointless active skill in that regards there, and you just recover your health. You don't counter mechanics, you don't give that sexy delay like Scald does. I don't think I would ever see a need to use them over Scald if you need to cover the wood attribute for Shura 3. If you're not playing Shura 3, well, it definitely can still work, but the active skill completely overlaps with Royal Oak, so it's just a sad disappointment. As a leader, they still want you to match 4 specific colors, which is definitely challenging to do. And you do have damage reduction, which is nice, and you get bonus combos, but 20 times attack in this day and age is nothing great, especially when you have to match rainbow element activation. It's just not going to pan out at this point in time. If this active skill had gave some sort of like mechanics counter, or maybe they had a bit more skill boost or something along those lines, maybe they could have been a more competitive option. Reincarnated Artemis features a dark sub-attribute, and we've got to the point where on Nautilus teams, if you want to tackle Shura 3, Freyr is oftentimes the default dark sub, and she's not terrible by any means, but she's also not truly magical nor amazing. And Artemis looks promising. She has 5 skill boosts, she has the super blind, and she has some VDP, so she's going to hit harder. She gives you some passive damage. You probably have enough rows anyways, but the problem is the active skill, again, doesn't counter any notable mechanics. You change Fire to Hearts, which is at least not the same orb changer as Nautilus, yay. You also get Wood Orbs more likely to appear for 8 turns, which is nice for sure, but Freyr at least gives you the RCV and the attack buff, and then the haste, which helps you charge up faster. But it's the RCV buff which could be handy, because it may be possibly difficult to have an RCV buffer, but Artemis doesn't cover mechanics. If she countered some mechanic in some way, she would be a much more desirable card overall. And as a leader, it's nothing special. Like, you need 2 wood combos, multiple combos. It's nothing that magical. No RCV multiplier. It's just eh. 8th has 777 with a VDP, so a reasonably standard damage awakenings, but not the greatest attack stat. You have skill boost, you have Cloud, you have follow-up attack, you have a myriad of different things. You could have 4 skill boosts instead of VDP, and as an active skill, it's a full cleric. You get to fully remove, well, almost a full cleric. You fully remove awoken skills, bind, and unmatchable status. So regular binds you can't deal with, but if your team is fully bind immune and you know you don't need to clear regular binds, it's a possible option. And then they also remove orb blocks and changes all orbs to water, wood, and light. So not a bad active skill by any means. It's reasonable. It's a full cleric. It does give you more options for your mono water teams. If you don't have, say, Goldfish Girl or Chun-Li, it's definitely a possibility. Next is Lu, and I think Lu is actually reasonable. He gets 6 skill boosts, which is always a nice thing. He has a bunch of L's. He has tape resist, which is kind of underwhelming, but it's something you probably don't bring. And their active skill gives you Void's damage attribute and damage absorption for 1 turn, and then 2 times orb movement time. So it's a reasonably nice active skill to counter a problem that's probably going to happen in any given dungeon. And the cooldown is reasonable enough that it should charge up if they're spaced out for, like, say, like, well, it's a little too long for, say, Shura 1 if it's your only solution. You'll probably have to stall after Sopdet and the green individual, but it's not the worst thing ever. In, like, say, like, Altarina 4, I think it should be okay, the spacing. And it does give you 6 skill boosts, remember, which is definitely meaningful. I think it's nice. I like the artwork. I just wish it was a little bit stronger. Maybe Ryume teams could take advantage of them. Maybe, but maybe that's a bit of a stretch. And then next is Hestia. And Hestia can have 4 skill boosts and a bunch of enhanced hard orbs. And the problem is their attack stat isn't exactly great. If there was a 1 in front of that 6, it could have been a meaningful RCV stat, which is the whole point of enhanced hard orb cards. They want to have extremely high RCV to actually be a healing solution, so I feel like it's going to languish in that regards. Yes, you do get super jam resist, which is nice. 4 skill boost is cool too. You have that L shield, or heart L shield, which doesn't really apply too much, I think, for fire. And you get an RCV buff. You change the whole board to fire, wood, light, and hearts. Nothing terrible, but nothing great. I don't really foresee myself being able to find a place to truly take advantage of her, sadly. And then lastly, we have Uranus. And Uranus is actually a big damage dealing potential card. He has 4 7 combos and a VDP. So immense personal damage, even though his attack stat isn't that great. It obviously gets a little better when you give him more levels. And in theory, he's actually a strong card for the double damage cap latent because you are hitting quite hard. You also get super blind resist, so it's pretty nice. But the problem is you're just basically a damage stick. Your active skill doesn't really counter that much. Like, yes, you do get an attack buff and then a board changer, but it's not the greatest board changer. It's 4 elements, including hearts and dark. it's okay. The attack buff is okay. Like, it's reasonable. If he kept his old active skill from his other form where it's 3 turns of color absorb, this would be a much more exciting card, because then you could justify bringing them, because you almost always need color absorb in some way, shape, or form. And then color absorb on a card that deals big damage, yes. Sadly, that is not the case, and I do feel like I would struggle to find a truly great place to incorporate them, because hitting hard is great, but hitting hard and countering mechanics is greater. And with that being said, those are all of the buffs and updates that happened for this recent maintenance. Nothing truly spectacular for this particular day, but Fairies is tomorrow, Nautilus and possibly Nautilus in the Golden Week Super Godfest happens on Saturday. Stay tuned for the rolling rates. Whether or not it's good or not, I will definitely make a follow-up video to let you know. With that being said, hopefully you all have a truly fantastic day. I wish you all the best luck in your own pad adventures, and happy puzzling.